Hello, my name is Kevin Bernhardt, and I'm both a farm management specialist for the University of Wisconsin Division of Extension and a professor in the School of Agriculture at the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. This video is part of a curriculum to support farm managers to make decisions and take actions to move their farms forward and ultimately reduce the farm members' stress. In this video, I will be discussing one of the three components of long-term economic viability, which is financial performance. Let's get started. In the last video, the components of long-term economic viability were defined as performance, capacity, and resiliency. As the visual shows, analysis of long-term economic viability helps identify which camp a business may be in, where the camp is a classification that indicates future strategic directions that are supported by the business's current economic realities. The camps are named builder, long hauler, or guardian transitioner. This video delves into how to analyze the first of these three components, performance. Performance is the ability of the farm business to generate adequate profits and grow owner's equity. While there will certainly be times where profits are stressed, the farm business must on average have enough financial performance to pay the bills, maintain the capital assets, provide family living, and grow owner's equity. Poor financial performance is also a leading cause of farmer and family stress. Further, it can be a cascading event. Poor financials can lead to stress. Stress can lead to poor decision making, and poor decision making can lead to poor financials. And the circle starts over. However, the reverse can also be true. Good financials leads to less stress, which leads to better decision making, which can result in better financials. A comprehensive article that covers the tools and processes of using financials in decision making can be found at the University of Wisconsin Division of Extension's Farm Management website at the link shown on the visual. Financial ratios are a comprehensive tool for discovering the farm's financial performance story. For example, the asset turnover ratio divides the farm's total revenue earned in a year by the value of total assets. The story told by the asset turnover ratio is how much revenue is being created by every dollar of assets on the farm. No profits will be made if the assets of the farm are not put to work to create revenues to start with. And the asset turnover ratio tells that story. Other ratios tell other parts of the financial story. There are two major steps in ratio analysis. The first is preparations needed to get to the ratios to start with. And the second is processes for analyzing the ratios and drawing informed conclusions. Preparation is a significant job. It takes time, and accuracy is very important. Preparation includes a farm records system and the creation of financial statements, including at minimum the beginning of the year balance sheet, the end of the year balance sheet, and an accrual income statement. The farm records system is a means to collect and appropriately catalog revenues, expenses, inventories, and other financial and production metrics. More information on record-keeping systems can be found at the website shown on the visual. The beginning and end of the year balance sheets show what the farm business owns, assets, what it owes, liabilities, and the difference between the two, which is owner equity. Owner equity is a key metric as it shows the owner's wealth. A major financial goal over time is growing owner equity. Note, the balance sheet is separated into subcategories of assets and liabilities. Current assets and liabilities are those assets that are cash or will convert to cash under normal business operations within 12 months. And current liabilities are those obligations that must be paid within 12 months. Intermediate assets are those that typically last for 2 to 10 years and include breeding livestock, machinery, vehicles, and other equipment. Intermediate liabilities are those obligations that use these assets as collateral. Long-term assets are those that last 10 or more years, primarily including buildings and land. Long-term liabilities are those obligations that use these assets as collateral. The accrual income statement shows revenues, expenses, and profits that were realized during the year. The term accrual means that inventories have been considered. For example, let's assume $50,000 of grain was produced, harvested, and stored on farm in year one, but it hasn't been sold yet. And it will not show up on year one's cash income statement because the corn was not sold. Yet, the work and performance to realize the earnings of $50,000 did happen in year one. The accrual income statement makes this adjustment and recognizes the $50,000 as being earned in year one. Once the financial statements are completed, then information from each of those statements can be used to calculate ratios. With ratios in hand, analysis of financial performance can now commence. However, it is a lot of numbers to make sense of, so a process is needed to sift through all the rubble to find the farm's financial story. Two processes will be used to assess financial ratios. The first is three-part benchmarking analysis that involves 1, comparison of ratios to industry standards via the ratio scorecard. 2, trend comparison of the farm business itself over time. And 3, comparison to a peer group of like farms. The second process is the DuPont system for financial analysis and uses ratios to focus in on profitability only. The ratio scorecard has been used for many years as a source of industry standards in 5 different analytical areas. Those being 1, liquidity, which is the ability to pay obligations in the next 12 months. Solvency, which is a measure of the structure of assets versus liabilities on the farm. 3, repayment capacity, which is the ability to pay debt service and keep machinery, buildings, and other capital assets up to date. Number 4 is profitability, and the 5th area is financial efficiency. A big value of the ratio scorecard is that it separates industry standards into 3 performance classifications, those being vulnerability, caution, and strength. These are often conveniently shown as red, yellow, and green respectively. The ratio scorecard is a good first look at financial performance. However, the scorecard does not change based on current economic conditions. In a poor price year, for example, many farm businesses may be in the red, not because of something they are doing wrong, but simply because of factors outside their control. Thus, the second part of the analysis is to compare the movement of your farm business's ratios over time. This is called trend analysis. A farm may have a ratio in the yellow, even red, but if it is continually improving, then at least the owner or manager knows it is heading in the right direction. The third part of the analysis is to compare to a peer group. This decouples the performance of the farm from current macroeconomic conditions. For example, assume a ratio measures in the yellow or even red on the scorecard and has shown a trend over time of actually worsening. These are 2 negative pieces of news. However, both could have been caused by poor macro conditions of which the owner manager had little control. However, if a comparison to a peer group shows a better ratio than one's peers, then a different conclusion results. That conclusion is that the entire industry has suffered over the last few years, including my farm. But I have done relatively better than my peers. The point is, all 3 ways of analyzing the ratios taken together tell a much fuller and complete story. The second analysis process is one that focuses on the 3 levers of profitability. It is called the DuPont system for financial analysis. Regardless of the kind of business, profitability is a result of these 3 primary levers. The first, and the starting point to profitability, is the ability of the business to generate gross revenues from the assets of the business. This ability can be measured and benchmarked through the asset turnover ratio, which has the acronym ATO. The second lever is the ability of the farm to be efficient with its production practices and expenses such that there are net profits left over after all the expenses are paid. This ability can be measured by the operating profit margin ratio, called OPM. The third is the ability of the business to use debt financing to increase or improve profitable activities. This is called leverage and is also known as the equity multiplier. The DuPont system is a diagnostic tool showing where profitability may be being held back. By itself, the DuPont system may not be a good guide as to what camp a farm business is in. Rather, it is information for the manager on where to target management time to improve profitability. We have defined ratio processes for measuring performance and the requirement for financial statements to get the ratios. Next is discussion on tools for how to create the financial statements to start with. There is an abundance of information, spreadsheets, software, and even consultants for creating financial statements, calculating ratios, and processing the results. Whichever one is used, the goal is to analyze financial performance and discover the farm's financial story. The University of Wisconsin Division of Extension has 3 spreadsheet tools, both for creating financial statements from scratch, as well as taking information from already existing financial statements and using that information to calculate the ratios and provide the information for analysis. What is different about each one is the entry information that is required. The first spreadsheet tool is titled Financial Ratio Analysis and is available at the link shown on the slide. This spreadsheet tool requires the least amount of user entry. Only selected information from already existing financial statements is entered, which is then used to calculate and organize the ratios. Up to 5 years of information can be entered. The second spreadsheet tool is titled Financial Trend Analysis. This spreadsheet requires entry of full financial statements versus just the selected information as we had before. Upon full entry, all else is automatically done. Up to 5 years of information can be entered here as well. The third spreadsheet tool is titled Financial Statement and Analysis System and can be found at the link shown. This spreadsheet tool allows users to create original financial statements for 1 year from scratch. The information is then used to calculate and organize the ratios. This is the most rigorous in terms of user entry because it is creating the original financial statements from scratch. A note of disclosure is warranted. Creating accurate balance sheets and accrual income statements can be a challenging task. It is challenging both for the information required and the mechanics of how to do it. If you have already provided balance sheets and accrual income statements from a consultant, bank, or some other source, then you can use either the financial trend analysis or the financial ratio analysis spreadsheets to automatically calculate and organize the ratios. If you need to create financial statements from scratch, then the tool to use is the Financial Statement and Analysis System. If it is your first time, you are encouraged to seek help from Extension, Technical College Agriculture instructors, DATCAPS Farm Center, lenders, consultants, or others. One resource for how to complete financial statements using the Financial Statement Analysis System spreadsheet is the University of Wisconsin Divisions of Extension Farm Pulse program. The Farm Pulse program has articles that describe and explain the financial statements, the spreadsheet tools referred to earlier, and instruction videos on how to complete the financial statement schedules. The link to the Farm Pulse program is shown on the slide. Upon completion of the performance analysis, the next and all-important step is interpreting the story the ratios are revealing. That is the subject of the final video of this module, titled Choosing Your Viability Camp. However, before interpreting results, information is needed from the other 2 components of long-term viability, those being capacity and resiliency. Those videos are next in the curriculum. Thank you for listening.